Hello again, it's your old friend Theta, the monotone messiah. It's the end of the week, which means it's time for Q&A Friday. Before I start, you should know that the ThetaVR merch store is officially open for business now. My Discord OGs got first crack at it, and now it's everyone else's turn to get their hands on some Theta-themed merch. You can find it by going to my website, which is ThetaVR.net. Also, just a reminder, if you're interested in having your questions answered in one of these Q&A sessions, come join the Cult of Theta Discord by going to invite.gg/ThetaVR. This is the only place I pull questions from. We also recently started a group called the Kool-Aid Crew for running scrims that give new players an opportunity to mix it up and learn from vets such as myself, Menorkid, Chief Pineapple, and many others. This week, I'm also trying to focus entirely on Onward-related subjects. There are a bunch of non-Onward questions in the Discord right now, and I'll sprinkle those into future videos, but last week I was answering more personal questions, like what my favorite game is, and today I'd like to balance that out with a pure Onward focus. Alright, let's get started with the questions. Heclak asks, how do you get bad in Onward? What are the signs of a bad public, competitive, league-style player? Onward, like most competitive games, is based on feedback. So if you're not listening to feedback either from other people in the form of criticism or from the game in the form of results, then you're bound to stagnate. Bad players don't know how to process the signals they get from either feedback source and will instead blame other people, the game, lag, etc. for their poor performance. I often joke that the mark of a true league player is an exceptional ability to come up with excuses. The metric I like to use for quality of excuses is based on how far the player removes themselves from responsibility. Like most humor, it's not 100% true, but it's based in fact. Many league players who have been stuck in a competitive plateau are experts at making excuses that place the blame firmly on factors outside of their control. If you're playing with someone and you never hear them blame themselves for a failure of some kind, that's a pretty good rule of thumb for figuring out who is not only a bad player, but who will continue to be a bad player. Navaste asks, how do you clear your mind for a match? I can't get out of my head. This is one of those questions that tends to be based on the individual and how you handle stress. Some people love to get fired up and intense before a match, some people like to be calm and quiet, and others prefer to have a laugh and relax. It's all about what suits your personality and how you react to the adrenaline of competing. James Boak on Mayhem likes to get everyone in a shooting range before a match so we can all discuss our strategy and shoot off rounds as a way to get acclimated to the game beforehand. I personally tend to be more on the side of the calm and quiet before I step into a match, and I say that after having tried many different approaches. So before an Onward match, I'll usually hop into some comp lobbies and just focus intensely on preparing myself for the match. When I was competing in Jiu-Jitsu, I found I did best by just accepting that I was about to put myself in a situation where I had to be willing to hurt my opponent, and there was a risk he could hurt me as well. In general, I am not convinced there's a single good way to do this. You'll just have to experiment. Give a few approaches a try and see how you feel during the match and what your results are like after each. Uncle Mute asks, do you feel that the Onward League has potential to blow up with the introduction of so many new players on the quest? And as an additional question that's very similar, Technomancer, aka the Kool-Aid Commander, asks, what is your opinion on quest crossplay / more inexperienced players joining the game? These two questions both capture roughly the same sentiment, but from slightly different angles, so I wanted to include them both here. First of all, I do believe there's still a lot of room for growth in competitive Onward and VR esports in general. The cost barrier for VR has always been an issue, and now we can see just how big the market can get since headsets like the Quest are around the same price as a console. That being said, there will always be a ceiling on how many people want to jump into the competitive scene of any game, and that ceiling will usually be lower in games that revolve around themes of violence, guns, and death. A lot of people don't like that level of intensity, and I think there'll always be a limit on the size of Onward. But again, it's likely we haven't come close to that limit yet. The existence of non-violent games like Echo Arena will help out with the growth of VR esports, and perhaps draw people in who otherwise wouldn't have even thought about competing in esports. Some of those people will likely drift over to Onward as well. To address the second half of this, my personal opinion is that it's overall a good thing having all these new players. Having a big pool of new players is already spicing up the game, and it's really cool to see how fast these new people are learning. There's also a pretty substantial group of toxic jerks who have shown up, and those people can't leave soon enough. I won't name names, but you can see them rearing their ugly heads in the Onward Discord. There have already been some pretty serious red flags coming from a couple of rookie teams, and I've personally witnessed spammers filling the Discord with stupid troll copy pastas. By and large, though, I'm happy about how Onward is growing. The game is going through a sort of Wild West period right now, and that means there's bound to be some chaos. Once the dust settles, though, I look forward to seeing the competitive scene grow and prosper. Stubbs, aka the best rookie in Texas, asks, what's the best way to get noticed by high-ranking players other than joining in their lobbies? Similar to that other question that was asked about getting in the right mindset, there isn't really a single great answer to this, as there are many different ways to gain visibility in a competitive scene. The big one that comes to mind is, of course, to win a lot. People always notice that. And mostly League players pay attention to how you do when you play with them. That's how I got on my first team. So joining in their lobbies is in fact pretty important. But beyond results-based ways to get noticed, I'd say just try to build some kind of relationship with the players and teams you want to get noticed by. To be clear, I'm not saying bombard League vets with DMs. What I'm talking about is an actual relationship, which involves both give and take. If you just hit up a team captain and ask them to commit time and resources to you, that probably won't go over well. Instead, find the team Discord, join in some conversations, and try to contribute before asking for them to dedicate time and energy to helping you out. For example, a lot of people hit me up asking me to play with them. I've talked about this in previous Q&As, but if you're brand new, that's not a great risk-reward trade-off for me or any other League player. I have no idea if you're actually committed to the game at all, and I don't have an infinite supply of time to spread around. Spending time getting you ready for the comp scene could turn into dead time when you realize how much effort is involved, so I'm slow to agree to those kinds of situations. But the people who have joined my Discord, participated in our regular Kool-Aid crew scrims, and otherwise contributed to the Onward community are all people I'm willing to help out if they ask for it. So that is, in my opinion, what you should be doing if you want to get noticed. Navaste asks, what are some red flags indicating a team is about to fall apart or you should get out? This always sucks, and teams fall apart for a variety of reasons. But in my mind, there are a few specific red flags that concern me more than any others. First of all, lack of consistent attendance when it comes to team events. If people are flaking on practice or matches, that tells you they aren't taking it very seriously. Some people sign up to compete in a game because it sounds exciting on paper, and then the reality of competitive life makes them think again. In a way, that's okay. Competition isn't for everyone. What isn't okay is when someone has made that determination, but they don't have the backbone to tell everyone involved. Nothing is more infuriating than expecting someone to show up and then they no-call, no-show on you. To me, that's a serious deal breaker. Number 2, a team culture that revolves around control of each player. Nothing says morale is non-existent like a team run like a ruthless dictatorship. Usually this is because the team's leadership has an ego problem, and rather than trying to solve that, they blame everything on everyone else for any perceived shortcomings. That never solves anything, and you can bet that team will fall apart in short order. Number 3, criticism always leads to a fight. A big part of what makes a quality team is a team ethos of constant improvement, which in turn requires a high degree of critical thinking and feedback. If even the slightest suggestion of a mistake triggers a fight, then it's hard to see that group of people operating as a team. That sounds a lot more like a bunch of individuals who aren't interested in working together. Even if they're good individual contributors, that is a recipe for disaster in team games like Onward. Coney Games asks, what is one thing you want added in the game? The one thing I would love to see is a game mode dedicated specifically to practice. What I mean is a mode where a team could create a lobby with very well-defined practice conditions in order to get quality reps on certain situations. Right now you can't do much in terms of practice except either start a private comp lobby and just play through some maps or do a free roam. So in my mind, the ideal practice mode offers several features. First, limited loadouts of a comp lobby, so teams have to practice within those limits. The headset camera of a regular lobby, so everyone can watch and learn while they're dead. The ability to select which OBJ and which spawns will be used in each round. The ability to free roam and place OBJs so people can get reps on capping and explore the boundaries of where caps can happen without any time pressures or ending the round once the cap happens. And finally, a built-in replay feature so each round can be reviewed in-game as soon as it finishes. Having this mode available would make quality practice much easier to run, which in turn would boost the average overall skill level amongst teams who are serious about competing. I would not hold my breath for this feature, but that would make this a much more compelling competitive game in my mind. So that's all I've got for today. Until next time, this is Theta, signing off.